See beyond my chaos. I used to be a troubled child, and while I blame my dad who never paid attention to me, most of it was me. I thrived on doing anything outrageous enough to make him lose his temper. He only had time for work and his girlfriends who were always half his age. My mom was not any better. The last time I heard, she was traveling through Europe with her newest boyfriend. At least I had Roxy, who always entertained my pranks. So when she asked me to bring my dad's newest car for a drive around town, I was not so opposed to the idea. I thought it'd be a fun thing to do and laugh about it later. What I did not expect was to crash the car and be nearly arrested because I did not have a license. I guess he did have a breaking point. For when he came to bail me out of trouble and take responsibility for the car, he told me that that was the last time I was going to disrespect him. I wonder what he could do, send me off to military school? Well, it seemed like he was thinking of something along those lines because that night, he told me that I was going to spend my summer, which was starting the following day, at Uncle Nate's farm. I told him that I would rather eat snails, and his response was, "Patrick, this is non-negotiable. Your uncle will be able to discipline you. I have failed." Then he went back to his room, where his latest girlfriend was waiting for him. Even though I protested, there was nothing I could do. He shipped me off to my uncle's farm. I was a city kid. My only interaction with nature was on school trips. What I did not expect was a farm in the middle of nowhere, with the nearest neighbor miles away. I felt tears welling up in my eyes when the guy Uncle Nate had sent to get me at the airport started putting my bags in that rusty old car. "You cannot be serious. You have no idea how much that cost." I was upset with him. He looked me dead in the eyes. "Look, princess, I don't give a damn, but I'm not getting paid enough to deal with your tantrums," he said. "First off, I'm not a princess, I'm a guy, and aren't you my cousin Blake?" I asked. He was the right age, with the same coloring as well. "No, your cousin moved. I'm Ronald. Your uncle is like a father to me," he said as he got into the car. "Nice to meet you, Ronnie," I sighed. "It's Ronald," he scowled. The rest of the ride was quiet. I hoped that there would be Wi-Fi there at least. Well, when I got there, I got a rude awakening. It was full-on off the grid. The only place with a phone was my Uncle Nate's office. My uncle was very stern and scary, assuring me that I was going to have a productive time there. Everything about him screamed no nonsense. He was not at all who I expected him to be. Either way, we had a nice dinner with his wife Marjorie, and Ronald, who was pretty quiet. Then, when everyone was asleep, they always slept so early for no reason at all, I snuck out of my room, which was right next to Ronald's room. I went to my uncle's office, which was surprisingly unlocked, and there was the phone. It felt like seeing water in a desert. I called Roxy and waited anxiously for her to pick up the call, only for it to be answered by a guy. I thought I had dialed the wrong number, but I was struck when I heard her say, "Ollie, who is that? Leave my phone and come back to bed." Oliver was the guy she told me not to worry about. I started to cry, mainly because I could not trust anyone. She was cheating. "You should not be in here," I heard a voice. I turned around and saw Ronald looking into the room. Oh no, I was genuinely scared that he would tell my uncle. He had gotten strict instructions from my dad to not let me use the phone. He narrowed his eyes at me. "Are you crying?" "Leave me alone," I walked past him. I had been rude to him all day. I was sure that he was going to tell my uncle. Nothing prepared me for the hard labor that I had to go through the next day. Now I knew why everyone went to bed early. They woke up so early. I was rudely woken up by my uncle, his voice like an intercom in my ears, telling me that there was work to be done, and it was hard work indeed. The man had a lot of land animals. Some worked on his farm while others worked in his fields, and I had to help along everywhere, while he assessed where I would be useful. And every time I complained, he would just add more tasks for me to do. I noticed that Ronnie did everything without breaking a sweat. Not only that, but he also had to supervise me in the afternoon. It was high noon when I could not take it anymore and fell back, dropping the weeds that I had been pulling. "Here, have some water," he said, bringing a bottle to my lips. Afterward, he told me that he would cover for me, and I could take the rest of the day off. I was puzzled as to why he was being so nice to me. Yesterday, he had called me spoiled and caught me using the phone without permission. Yet the day passed without him snitching on me. "Why'd you help me out?" I asked. "You seem tired," I said. "No, you did not tell Uncle Nate about the phone call," I clarified. "It was not my story to tell, and I did not want to keep you away from your girl," he shrugged. "How did you know?" I asked. "Your wallpaper." "Remind me to change it," I rolled my eyes. "Love is complicated. I've had my share of girlfriends, and it was not easy," he laughed. I apologized for how I acted the previous day, and we sort of had a truce. We were not exactly friends, but he helped me when I found it difficult to do the things Uncle Nate told me to do. For days, all I had to look forward to was hard labor and the bleeding sun. I had to give it to my dad. He really had done it. One afternoon, I decided to go for a walk. My uncle was away on business, which meant I could slack off a bit. I decided to walk around and see if I could get into the local town. I craved just a touch of civilization. It was as I was walking that I stepped on something disgusting, and trust me, I was so mad that I screamed. Well, that is one way to let go of anger, Ronald, who had appeared from nowhere, said. Everything sucks. It led me to have an outburst, telling him everything that had happened to me so far. Cannot help, but I will offer to take you to the river to clean up, he offered. Thanks, Ronald. Call me Ronnie, he smiled. Then he started laughing at me as I complained about how my shoes had been ruined by the cow dung. He found it completely hilarious that I was acting as if I was going to die because I had stepped in cow dung. We ended up cooling off by taking off all our clothes and swimming in the river. While we were there, we got to talking, and I was curious. So, are you a full-time worker? I asked. No, but I stay here when I'm going to school. Uncle Nate offers me a place to stay and a roof over my head in exchange for my work, he explained. What about your parents? I asked. They're addicts. Left me when I was 7. I beg and stole scraps for years. Then when I was 12, I worked for your uncle for a while. He found out that I was alone and took me in, he said. He has a heart after all, I mused. He is a difficult man, but I can handle the overworking if it means I do not starve, he shrugged. Do you not hate your parents? I asked. No. They ruined your life. I was surprised. I will not ruin myself for them. That's what you're doing, he said. You know nothing, I laughed. Maybe. I vowed to stay away from him. He seemed to see me, but he did not despise me or fear me, which made me fear him even more. But as the days passed, I could tell that he was not bitter. He did everything with a smile and was friendly to the other workers. Then we bumped into each other one night in the kitchen. I was very hungry because of the day of hard work, and was eating the leftovers. I nearly jumped out of my skin when I turned around, seeing him standing behind me, a flashlight in his face. Geez, Beetlejuice, could have had a heart attack, I yelled. Who now? He frowned. It was not like there was no TV or a movie theater in the nearest town. Ronnie just did not like movies. He ended up getting his own spoon and we shared the food. And for the following nights, we would run into each other at night and share the leftovers. One night, it was too hot for us to stay in the kitchen, so we ended up going outside. That was the first time I saw stars without the pollution of the city. I laid down on the patch of grass and looked upwards. I heard him chuckle, but he slept next to me. We were out there for hours, talking about everything. I found out something new about him. He wanted to travel one day, which was something that I wanted to do when I finished school. He got me and I was interested in what I had to say, so we lay among the stars until our eyes grew heavy. We somehow managed to get back to bed. The next morning, I felt a warmth that I could not explain when I saw him. That was when I realized that the feelings I was having were probably not as innocent as I thought they were. I was so damn confused, but I could not stay away from him. It did not help that I often felt like he felt the same way about me. There were so many times that I got close to leaning closer and investigating what it was, like those times when he would smirk when I made a stupid joke, or how he would cover for me many times when my uncle thought I was slacking off. But what I knew was that it was not the right place nor the right time to be exploring those feelings. My uncle was a very conservative man who was not open to any change. I feared that if he found out about my feelings, he would call my dad to take me home. At least, I did not have to worry about Ronnie making a move, or so I thought. One morning, I was hiding out with him in the barn while he was working. He kept on telling me to get back to work and stop slacking, but I kept on giving him smart answers. I swear, Patrick, I will lift you over my shoulder and drag you over to Uncle Nate at any second, he rolled his eyes. Catch me if you can, I laughed. He started to slowly stalk closer to me, and I started to back away. Then I fell over a haystack, just as he fell onto me. We stared at each other for a few seconds before he leaned down and kissed me. I had kissed a lot of girls in my life, but even with Roxy, it felt very mechanical. Yet here I was, feeling these things I had never felt before in my life. When he pulled away, I did not want him to, so I brought him down again. It was clear that we had feelings for each other. Who did we think we were fooling? So, we decided to make the most of the little time I had there. Then we would see what to do next. Being around him made all the poison that I had seeped into me evaporate into nothing. And even my uncle noticed a change in me. When no one was looking, we would exchange little touches and glances. I found out that he had been confused about his sexuality all his life. but I was the first guy he had ever been with. It had not been easy in the beginning, the two of us avoiding each other for days after the kiss, but it was clear that there was something there. He made me happy, showing me things in a different light. I decided that I was going to try and fix things with my dad when I went back home. I just did not know what would happen to us once I was gone, but we focused on the good moments. Some nights we would sneak into each other's room for some shenanigans, which was both thrilling and scary at the same time. I guess I still had a thirst for doing what was forbidden, while he was all about being careful. I told myself that I would not fall, and it would be whatever it would be, but on the day we had our first date, I knew that I had fallen beyond what I could grasp. "You know, it's so peaceful here," I said, as we had our lunch by the river in the afternoon. He had surprised me with a packed basket a few minutes ago. Says the troublemaker. "Do you not feel restless?" He smirked. "If anything, I feel more at peace. The city's always so fast. Here, I'm forced to slow down and be in my thoughts," I confessed. He leaned closer, removing something from my cheek, and then he kissed it, making me smile. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "I want to change my behavior," I responded. "You already have, but I can still see the chaos within you, and I still love you." Those words were spoken so casually, but held much deeper meaning. And when I used those words, I meant them for the first time in my life. I love you. That would have probably been the part where we lived happily ever after, because it was heading in that direction when we kissed. But we heard someone gasp. Yet when we turned around, there was no one. For the first time in my life, I was scared that someone had seen us. That night, Uncle Nate expressed that I would be going home sooner. However, I protested that I wanted to stay until summer ended. All my friends had gone on holiday anyways. Aunt Marjorie, who had been dishing up the food, gave me a strange look. Then she dropped the salad she was holding. I quickly got up to help her, even though she was apologizing a lot and asking if I was okay. The next morning, I woke up to my dad's car parked in front of the house. I got up excited to see him and talk to him about stuff. I had been thinking a lot about how much of the spoiled brat I was. I just wanted him to be there for me sometimes. Not only when I made trouble. I went into the kitchen and saw everyone sitting at the table, dead silent. "Dad, what a surprise," I said, sitting down. My uncle was giving me a strange look. My father had a stony expression. I did not get it. I had tried to behave, so why was he acting like I had messed up? Then he slammed his fist on the table, making Aunt Marjorie, who was a few feet away, jump and let out a yelp. "You just cannot help making my life difficult, can you? I send you here to get discipline, and then you start sleeping with the helper?" he growled. "Dad, what are you talking about?" I asked. "Why the hell did Marjorie see you doing unspeakable things with that boy? Thank goodness for Nate. I do not even know where to send you. You are such a disappointment," he went on. I looked around and saw that Ronnie was not even there. I looked at Uncle Nate, who had a disgusted look on his face. Aunt Marjorie looked at me with guilt once, then looked away. "You do not understand. Are you gay or not?" he demanded. "I love him." As soon as those words came out of my mouth, he leaned forward, smacking me across my mouth. I felt the metallic taste of blood in my mouth. There were a lot of drama and screeching, which only stopped when my dad said he could not be in the same room as me anymore. The way he treated me made me realize that he did not care about me. I found out from Uncle Nate that he had kicked Ronnie out before he locked me in my room to keep me from coming out. I did not know what they were planning to do, but I was not going to wait to find out. They could not contain me either way. I decided to commit one final act of rebellion against them. While they were not paying attention, I stole both of their wallets. I had already begun hatching the plan when my father confronted me. I did not know where Ronnie was, but I decided to try a bar that he mentioned that he frequented in a nearby town. So I climbed out of the window with only a rucksack and a few clothes. It would be a while before they noticed that we were gone. It was a long shot, but I found him, nursing a drink. I explained the plan, albeit breathlessly. He called me crazy, but went along with it. I did not tell him where I got the money, as I knew that he would not approve of my stealing. We were two broke kids, barely out of high school, with a little bit of cash between us, and no plan. So, we decided to make our dreams of traveling come true. We were lucky enough to get jobs to be able to finance ourselves. Then, because I could not keep it to myself, I told him where I got the money. That was the first and last time I lied to him. He was very upset and nearly left me because he could not believe that I had stooped so low after making progress. We saved up some more money and posted it to my father and uncle with apology notes. I have no other family except for him, and despite the odds pitted against us, we are still together. We have settled down in a little town and plan on going back to school soon. I might have lost my comfortable life, but I have gained true love. Well, that was a roller coaster of emotions. Patrick was definitely a spoiled brat in the beginning, but meeting the right person seems to be changing him for the better. And well, I would not blame him for his bad behavior. He just seemed to be lacking love from his parents. Maybe it is true that people change bad habits for the right person. Do you think things would have worked out with his dad if he stayed? Please support us by liking, commenting, and subscribing, and don't forget to hit the notification button to never miss a story. Stay wholesome. To be continued. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.